Okay, good evening, everyone. This is Graham Duke Gibbs talking to you from the Royal Military College in Kingston, Ontario, in Canada. And as was mentioned this afternoon, I'm going to talk about the regular officer training plan in particular. It is the only way to attend RMC as an undergraduate student at a high school. Here's our contact information. And you need to decide a couple of things. So basically the process begins with people looking at the Canadian Armed Forces website and looking at the various jobs that are available for officers, because you're actually applying for a career as an officer in the Armed Forces, and that career leads to doing the studies at the Royal Military College of Canada. So we kind of do things backwards compared to other universities, in the sense that you apply for the job, they hire you for the job, and then they are responsible for educating and training you to do that particular job. So I normally use the example of a pilot. They will hire you to be a pilot even before you've ever set foot in a plane. So I'm not going to fly with you, but maybe 10 or 12 years down the road, I will. So as we can see here, the role of the Royal Military College is to educate and develop people to become leaders who serve the Canadian Armed Forces and Canada. And so when you graduate, you will be a second lieutenant in the Canadian Armed Forces. We offer Bachelor of Engineering degrees. The list is there, and aeronautical, computer, civil, chemical, electrical, mechanical. We are only one of 4 schools in Canada which offer the aeronautical engineering program. We've got Bachelor of Science degrees, space science, computer, chemistry, physics, mathematics, and minors in life science. And then the Bachelor of Arts, business administration, economics, psychology, political science, history, military strategic studies, which is a program unique to the Royal Military College, English, French literature, and culture. So there are 4 pillars which everybody has to do while they're attending the Royal Military College, and one of them is military. So basically through the 4 years that you're here, you're involved in leadership development. So in first year, you start off just doing the things that you need to do to be successful in that first year. But even as early as second year, you might find yourself in a role of leadership, helping the first years. And then in third year, you most likely will find yourself in a role of leadership where you're taking on responsibility for other personnel within the officer cadet wing. So these are just the various different levels of leadership that are available. And then this would be sort of your typical day. So the 5:30 to 7 that's indicated there would be something like if you are involved in the RMC band, for instance, they would practice in the mornings. It's 2 or 3 mornings a week. So that's where you might find yourself at the 5:30 to 7 level. Most people would be getting up around 6 a.m. Getting ready for the day would be in class from 8 until 4:30. You have lunch in there as well. And then Monday night, you've got extra help seminars, tutorials. Tuesday night, you play intramural sports. Wednesday night, typically free. Thursday night, you play intramural sports. And then Friday night, you're typically free as well. And then we've got study time, which is built right into the schedule now, is between 7 p.m. and 10 p.m. So that's a period of time where nobody is supposed to be tasking you or bothering you with much. That is set aside for your studies, and that melds well into the success here at the college. So Saturdays and Sundays being the weekend, typically you'd have 2 to 3 leave weekends off per month. So you would find yourself here on campus 1 or 2 weekends, still technically working. But those weekends are usually quite enjoyable. So that there's a number of them that are called sports weekends, where you're actually involved in different sports activities and whatnot. There's a couple of big inspections as well. One is the Commandant's inspection, and one is Director of Cadets inspection. but you're given notice ahead of time when those weekends are coming up, and the entire residence would work together to make sure that it's all in shipshape condition for those inspections. And normally, if you're kept here through the weekend, they also organize some kind of fun social event, usually on the Saturday night, just to kind of break up the working that you're doing over that period. So the education year would be September to May, and then from May until September, you're doing your military training with the Canadian Armed Forces. And so I can explain a little bit what happens. So before you come into the program, so after you've accepted the offer, that first summer after you graduate from high school, you'll be doing basic training in Saint-Jean, Quebec for 7 weeks. Then you come to RMC, you do your 3-week orientation, and then you begin your academic semester. So the academic year ends in May. After that first year, you actually go back to Saint-Jean, Quebec, where you do your basic military officer qualification part 2, and then you'd come back for a school year. So after second year, if you're not bilingual, then you will do your second language training either here at the Royal Military College in Kingston or at RMC Saint-Jean. That's an 11-week program where you're in class learning a second language, 8 to 3:30, 5 days a week for those 11 weeks. After second year, if you've already got your bilingualism, you'll do your Army, Navy, or Air Force training. Otherwise, you will do the bilingualism part. So and then between third and fourth year, that's where you do on-the-job training. So you'll actually be job shadowing somebody doing the job that you'll be doing when you graduate, and that'll have you going to a base somewhere across the country again. And then after graduation, what happens is you've got another 12 to 18 months normally of more learning and more practical learning before you're actually qualified to do the position, with the exception of aircrew, which is going to be 2 to 3 years. The physical fitness basically comes down to the fact that you are tested twice a year, 3 times a year actually, on your physical fitness. So you've got 2 RMC physical fitness tests and 1 force test, which is administered by the Armed Forces. So the first year that you're here in your physical activity program basically focuses on training you on how to properly train to be able to be successful through those physical fitness tests. And then as you go up through the 4 years, the focus of the physical training changes, but it becomes more and more interesting each year. Third year focuses on hand-to-hand combat, where they teach you different hand-to-hand combat techniques and whatnot. And then fourth year introduces you to the international military sports. So very often athletes from the Royal Military College are picked up by the Armed Forces to be part of the Armed Forces team within the CISM program. So the physical fitness, the things that you need to do: push-ups, sit-ups, agility run, standing long jump, and a 2.4 kilometer run. On top of that, we have recreation clubs. So I mentioned Wednesday evenings are free. That would be very often a time when people would be involved in recreation clubs. They go everything from astronomy right down to yachting. We actually have a flying club as well. And so there's a good variety of things to do here in addition to the studies. On the second language, so bilingualism pillar, I think I touched on that already. You have to reach a certain level. So when you come into the college, they'll test you on your second language. And depending on how you do, they'll put you into the level of classroom that's required. So if you come in, it could be beginning like bonjour, je m'appelle Graham, then you work your way up from there. And then once you get the levels that are required, you're exempt from that training. So that frees you up for one 50-minute period a day for the rest of the time that you're here. So it's the only one of the pillars that once you achieve it, you're exempt from any more training. And then if we look at the admission prerequisites, it's a 75% average to apply. If you're applying from a European system that uses the letters, like ABC for the notes, then you have to have those transmitted by your school into a number. So they might say, well, B is equivalent to 76 or something. So that's there. Now, arts, science, and engineering have different prerequisites and all that is available on the RMC website. That's the most up-to-date information. And you can look at the RMC website for the US and European pattern school systems. And the International Baccalaureate Program is recognized as a very good preparation for the academic program here at the Royal Military College. That's what I was mentioning earlier. If your grades are in the letter format, you have to get them translated into a mark. The selection process, you apply online. www.forces.ca works as well, or .gc.ca. Again, look at the careers, choose up to 3, and just submit your application. We always recommend people apply in September or October. Okay, so even though the deadline is January 31, the earlier you get it in, the better it is for you. The contracts themselves, typically for 4 years of education at the Royal Military College, followed by 5 years of obligatory service. And so once you graduate, you're guaranteed employment for at least 5 years. Okay. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Louise Mack from the Division of Continuing Studies.